Okay, guys, this is going to be the patch 12.10 tier list. And so in this patch, there were big changes to the game in terms of champion durability. At early stages of the game, champion durability is up about 8%. And in mid game, it's up about 16%. And late game, 20%. So you would think that champions that scale well into late game will benefit from these changes. But the fact that everyone's getting the durability changes, on top of the fact that only certain champions who can utilize the meta items, which are OP, are going to be good. The champions that scale still probably will not be as good as you would think. So we're going to start off with an S plus tier champion for support this patch. And I haven't really rated a support S plus tier in a long time, but I think it's deserved for this patch, and that is Senna. So Senna is, or was S tier last patch, and with the changes to champion durability, she's hard to one shot, and she'll stack souls. She's really good in the team fights that go long, which is because of the champion durability, there will be fights will be a little bit longer, and so Senna will be able to get multiple sets of heals off, and she's just good early, mid, and late game, and can build the good items like Umbral Glaive and Eclipse. So she's going to be S+. For S, I'm going to put Zilean here. I think Zilean is one of the best scalers in the game, and because of the durability update, he's more likely to achieve late game. And so I'm going to put him up here. You can play him like in easy matchups, you can do like Qmax and Airy, and in hard matchups, you can do like Guardian or Glacial Augment in Emax. You know, there's different ways to play him, but it feels like it's a lot easier for him to get to late game. Let's see. I think those are the two supports that I think are stand out to be different from this patch. For other supports, I do think not much has changed, and they're mostly power neutral. So champions that were good last patch will still be good this patch. All right, I think we got most of the... Okay, let's start. Oh god, I don't want to talk about everything. I'll talk about A tier and why these champs are still good. Okay, so Nautilus. Nautilus is still good because one, he's slightly tankier now, right? So before he's like really easy to kill when he goes in, but now he can go in and soak a set of spells and probably still live. Also, a new build that's been arising for frontline supports, well, somewhat new, it's been around for a couple patches now, is the Zhonya's first or second item. And Zhonya's first or second item is really good on these champs like Nautilus and Leona, because when you go in, you can mitigate the first set of spells by using Zhonya's, and then you can take one more set of spells, whereas before you could only really tank one set of spells after you go in. So these champions are actually tankier than they look because of the stasis. On top of that, these are just really good early game, early mid game, like kill setup champions. Rakan's just like one of the best roamers in the game and team fighters, because his engage range is from him being able to dash once to an ally and then W after. So pretty much a full screen away, he can create an engage. It's pretty nice. And also his RW has really low counterplay. In terms of Janna is a very good scaling champion, but she's really weak in lane. So the durability changes should help that a bit in terms of like her being able to survive lane a little bit better. She will still lose most lanes. I think she only really wins like Rell, but even Rell can still win against her if Rell engages at the right time. Like Janna's just really low laning power, so that's why even though she scales really well, she isn't an S or S+. Karma's always been like a lane bully, and she's still one of the strongest laners in the game. However, she is a strong laner that can also scale. But Karma's scaling isn't through levels. Karma scales off items. So she does have this weird point in the game where in early game she's really strong from lane. and then she'll have a fall off where she's weak as she's trying to put together her items, like her 1 core and 2 core. And then once she gets like 2 core or 3 core, like Heal Cut or Ardent Sensor or Staff, whatever your team needs, then she's strong again. But because of that mid game trough, and a lot of stuff happens mid game, like third dragon fight, stuff like that. That's why she isn't any better than A as well. Rell is actually, I put her in A, but she's actually a champion that can be S with certain champion pairings. Like she can be S with Tristana, or with Samira specifically. That combo is really strong for kill pressure in lane. And also Tristana, yeah. Champions that can dash onto them and then you can activate the stun is really good. She's also good with divers like Nocturne. So Renata is a slightly newer champion, and people are starting to realize she's really good against these dive comps because she has a lot of peel spells, like her E, her W, her Q are all really good when people enter into her, but they're really hard to land if you are chasing into them. So anytime you're against like champions that dive forward, it's a good time to pick Renata. For example, she would do really well against Nautilus and Leona, right? Just examples. The reason why I think she is S tier now and 1 cut above the rest is she is actually a good scaler. Like she can build enchanter items which scale very well, right? She can also build Zhonya's, Zhonya's very good item. So she is very flexible in itemization, and also her ult just scales really well. If that game was go late, like people are saying durability changes will make the game, then her ulti, I think at rank 3, 2.25 seconds, that is so long. Like that is long enough for the enemy team to just like completely kill each other off. So I think that, and the fact that before some of the counterplay to Renata was just one-shotting the Renata first, but because she's slightly more durable, I don't think she can die in one spell rotation. So for those reasons, we would put her S on this patch. Let's keep going through the A tier. Okay, so Nami. Nami I've been favoring a lot these last couple patches because I think she works like a Yuumi, where when one person gets really fed, Nami can just buff up that person and make them like unbearable to deal. Like the enemy team can't deal with them anymore because with Nami buffs and them being fed, they just one-shot everyone. I feel like in solo queue, a lot of times there will be one person that is fed, and Nami is really good at playing around fed people. So and obviously the Lucian Nami pairing is very strong. But she's good standalone as well. Soraka, not much to say here. Like, yes, healing did got nerfed, but also Grievous Wounds also got nerfed. And she's also more durable. So even though Soraka is worse on this patch, last patch I had her S, now we have her at A. Because she still has the ability to influence top, right? Which is with the ulti. I think champions like that are really good for solo queue just because a lot of supports won't feel like they'll have an impact if something bad happens on top side of the map. If you're Soraka, you can just gift them like 30% of their HP to both jungler and top, so hopefully they can win. And also her laning's not weak. Like she can win lane hard and also scale and also influence top lane. So I would say she's like Senna Jr. Like she does everything Senna can do, but she does less damage. Or Senna does everything she can do, but Senna also does damage. So Soraka is a pick I do think is pretty good. So Xerath is here. Now the reason why Xerath is, which is considered more of an off-meta pick, is now in the A tier is because of the change they did to his stun to make it 2.25 seconds at max distance. This is really big for Xerath specifically because Xerath's stun is just so safe to throw out. You know, like you throw out this random E and then randomly they're stunned for 2.25 seconds. That's so long. And it's just like, it's such a safe CC to throw out. You throw it out, you miss it, whatever. Like, on top of that, his Pokken lane has always been good. And yeah, after a certain point, his ulti starts one-shotting people too. But the big change was that stun. Like, whenever I play Xerath, I always mention like, wow, I stunned him for 2.25 seconds. Because that's so crazy for like such a safe CC. Like the fact that I can stun for 2.25 seconds is like ridiculous to me. So for me, he's like my go-to pick. If my team is like full AD and we're lacking AD, I'm just like, okay, I'll just pick Xerath. I can carry this one. It's totally fine. Blitzcrank is Blitzcrank. He's just annoying. Like Blitzcrank, as long as he has a hook, like he's gonna be A tier, like plus. His hook is so long nowadays. Oh my god, like, and it's just like he's such a headache to deal with. Cause like he too like the difference between Blitzcrank and Nas Leona is like Blitzcrank will bring the play to your team, whereas Nas and Leona like you are going in like diving their team. Blitzcrank brings the play to your team. It's just like an ease of execution. It's really easy picks for your team, especially if you understand vision control well. Let's talk about Thresh and why he's not A tier. So Thresh, the problem with Thresh right now, and just like the fact that Thresh, first of all, hasn't really been picked that much in MSI is a big sign that this champ is falling off because Thresh is a champion that's really good with communication. So you think if this champion is good, that they would be playing it at the highest level, you know, where people's communication is better. So the reason why I think this champion is not very good right now is one, it's a matter of meta. Like Thresh's kind of counters like Nautilus and even Blitzcrank, they are in the meta right now. So the fact that his counters are around makes it's like a ecosystem, you know, like when the predators of something is stronger, then the prey like their population is lower. It's kind of Thresh is like that, where it's like one, he's like really strong in lane, but in certain matchups he has high kill pressure. The problem with Thresh is it's hard to do much besides have a strong lane and strong roams. Like once you get into the team fights, which are bound to happen in the current meta, where you team fight around dragons, you team fight around Baron, Herald, whatever. Like once you get the team fights, not only is his execution really hard, like you can have a really good team fight where you hook like the 80 carry and then like you flay their dash and then like a good box. And that's hard to do, right? Even if you do that, you're probably going to have the same amount of impact as if Nautilus like pressed Q and ulti on your carry. Like you might just have the same amount of impact, but you're working like 10 times harder than him. So it's just like, why would you want to do that when you can just work very little for more impact? And for Alistar's problem is his lane is kind of weak until level 3, which is a problem because if you are losing lane pressure in solo queue, it's particularly bad because one, it puts you're kind of relying on the jungler to bail you out one time, or you're relying on that one engage to like turn around the lane, but maybe their jungler is padding to you and your jungler is padding top. Like I don't like the fact that he's like more team reliant. On top of the fact that you can't really win level 1 and 2 unless they really troll, makes this champion like less favorable to me as opposed to Leona. Or Nautilus has a strong level 1 actually, and Leona gets dry level 2. Alistar does take till 3. Bard is probably a weird one for you guys because Bard is actually a pretty good champ. What I don't like about Bard for solo queue specifically is he has a really weak lane. Like when I play against Bard, I feel like I can win the lane hard enough to where it would put my team at a pretty advantageous spot in the game. The counter argument to that could be like Bard is really good at setting up the jungler to come to your lane, and is also very good at roaming. And I can agree with that, but again, it's like it's just not as self-sustainable. And in solo queue, I really like self-sustainable. Like I like to be able to feel like I have as much control over the game as possible. Like there's plenty of times where I'm losing lane, but I see a really good angle for my jungler to gank with the portal, and then I'm pinging him to come, and he's not coming. And I'm just like, okay, then I'll just have to win the game by roaming to my jungler, and then it's just like a huge mess, and maybe we win, but like it just feels way more flipped to me than that. When there's like champions that can win the game through like killing their lane, I don't think Bard really has that condition. However, I think he's more of like a B plus. Like he's good. Like he's a good champion. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's like good enough. Okay, so yeah, maybe B plus, like A minus. You know, if that sounds better, sure. Lulu being here is probably a weird one. I think for Lulu, they did nerf her shield, and already the shield is like kind of really situational because it's a 2 second before it fizzles out, right? And on top of that, I just think Lulu doesn't really deal well in a lot of the current meta matchups. Like if I'm Senna beats Lulu, Zilean outscales Lulu and can go even in lane. Like Nami beats Lulu in lane and can also do more later. Like Lulu's in this weird spot where like yes, she has a lot of utility, but she just like doesn't excel enough at any of them. Whereas like it feels like if you want the jack of all trades, just pick Senna, and if you want like a CC champ, then you can do like even Rakan or Janna. Like Lulu is not as much of a scaler as these other champions, and part of the reason why is itemization too. She cannot build like these AoE shield items like Ardent, Staff, or even Putrefier better than Janna or Karma or Soraka. These champions proc these items in like on everyone, and Lulu only procs it on one person. And for those reasons, I don't think she is as good. Is Lulu super good with hyper carries? If you're talking about Vayne, which is like by far one of the most overhyped, people thought Vayne would be so good. I was telling them about this patch. I was like, she's not going to be as good as you think. She's still going to get pushed in lane. Like she won't have like that much early game agency. And you're looking to bleed out a couple dragons to like potentially come back to the game. And even in the mid game, she'll have trouble clearing out waves. Like a Lulu Vayne needs to... Yeah, I just don't see this combo like even escaping lane against good players. Let's see. Okay, so we're talking about Sona. Now we're talking about AoE healer. The reason why I have Sona down here is because she doesn't have any roaming power. Like Sona cannot roam. Even like these champions in A, even Nami can roam. Even Soraka has decent roams. Like you can at least like heal roam, or you can like... Soraka is actually not bad in skirmishes. Like she's tanky. She can throw out a couple Qs, heal some kids. Sona in a skirmish is just a sitting duck. Like before she gets items like Moonstone and stuff like that, she'll like Q auto them for 2 HP, and then like she'll heal your ally for 2 HP, and like maybe like a small speed boost. But like not only does that cost a bunch of mana, like she also can't clear waves. Like she's stuck in her lane if the enemy wants to shove her into turret, like she can't move. And not to mention she's just really bullyable in lane. She could easily die to like one of these 2 or 3 like champions. Like Leona, Nautilus, Blitzcrank would kill her. Even Senna can kill her. Like this champion is good. She spikes fast. Like don't get me wrong, she'll spike at Moonstone, but like why not just get a champion that can be good in lane and also spike at one item, like Nami with Mandate, or like Senna with Umbro. Like I value laning phase pretty highly, and I just don't think she provides much. Like early crab, you can't fight it. Early lane, you can't. You could fight early lane in some matchups, like against Janna, sure. But even Janna can roam. That's the thing. Like Janna doesn't have to sit in lane like Sona does. Janna can go top. She can go mid. She can go help the jungler. And Sona, like, good luck doing all of that. You're just praying your team isn't behind enough to where you can get your 2 items and be relevant. I don't like that. Let's talk about Taliah, since she's just recently reworked. So Taliah... What I like about Taliah is she's just really OP as a champion. Right now she's really overtuned. She's not like the old Taliah before where she's at level 3 and you kill them, and then and then you snowball the map like that. She's actually a mid to late game. She can actually scale into mid to late game now. And I actually prefer to like neutralize level 1 and 2 by just spamming Q on the wave and pushing it, versus like before I would use early Taliah Qs to poke them at level 1. Now I actually use it to push the wave. Her damage at level 3 is actually a lot lower, but once you get to level 8 or 9 on Taliah with the 5 points Q, you can start just like infinitely spamming Q, and it's really insane. And also just like the E, like in some games where a team has a lot of dashes, you can just max E. You can max E after like 2 points Q. And this spell is just so broken. Like anyone will, it's so long. Like you can even use it to poke in lane. It literally covers like the whole minion wave plus like an extra 3 rows. You can just use it however you want, and they're probably going to stun themselves. And a big benefit of Taliah right now is she actually roams very well. She's very fast at the roams because of her passive, and also just like she has CC, she has damage, like durability patch will help her a lot because she's good in long fights. So yeah, so Taliah is B. The reason why I don't really want to give her A is because, like I said, she's not as strong in lane anymore like she used to be. Like I can easily lose lane to like a Xerath, for example, like if I get outranged. She does do well against like Alistar though, like anything that needs to dash. Even Leona, I like that matchup. Yuumi's a weird one. I actually think Yuumi's role has actually kind of gotten overtaken by Nami over time. Like Yuumi, when you attach to a fed person, right, it's really good because that makes that person really powerful. But Nami can do the same thing while not having that weird like attach mechanic where it's like hard to get vision by yourself and stuff like that. What I will say is Yuumi is sometimes better against teams with low amounts of CC. If you're able to unattach safely in team fights and like get the passive and the mana and then constantly refresh your mana and constantly get your heal back up, then I think Yuumi could be an A tier pick. But just in general, there's less situations where I pick Yuumi. Yuumi is good against like Karma for that reason, right? Karma doesn't have any way to really lock Yuumi down, and so Yuumi can do whatever she wants. So Yuumi is good against that kind of champion. But if you think about it, like there's not that many kind of champions that don't have CC. So it's rare that you see that, but when you do see that, it's a Yuumi angle. For stuff like Lux, I'm sure people are probably confused. Lux has just been falling off slowly. It just feels like she has to dominate lane to be as useful as another support. But the fact that her win condition is so narrow, like that you have to do well in lane, it's just a high variance because Lux, her doing well in lane is dependent on like whether she lands skill shots or not. And whereas like some of these other champions, the ease of execution is a little bit easier. Like Lux is just, if you miss your skill shots, you're really just useless. And if you land them, you're useful. And I just think for her, you're just not getting as much benefit from landing it to the point where it would merit a pick, if that makes sense. I just feel like if you're behind, like she could be one of the most useless champions you'll ever pick, and you could be behind, and it's not like unlikely that you fuck up laning phase and get Nautilus hooked or Leona comboed or whatever, and then you're just put really far behind, and then she doesn't have a comeback mechanism. Like I don't feel like, oh, like let's say I'm losing as Leona or Nautilus, I'm just like, okay, I'm losing, like fuck, I'll just all in them at level 6, or I'll just call the jungler and CC them. With Lux, it's like, oh, I'm losing. Now what? Like, do I try a random roam and hope their support doesn't match? Because if they match, then I'm just going to get one shot again, and then I'm going to be even further behind. Like, I just don't like how narrow her win condition is. Let's see. Seraphine. So you guys are probably thinking, why is Seraphine down here whenever everyone's saying that the durability patch should make her better, right? Seraphine's down there. I mean, she's more of a B+. Her lane is just weak. Her lane is bad. Like, not only does she have like really long cooldowns, like I think her W is like in the 20s, right? And then her Q and E are like 10 and 12 apiece. Like, she just like pushes the lane, and like if you want to harass them, like you might fuck up your ADC's minions, you know? Like if I want to get a good angle for Q, like a good Q, double Q, then I might accidentally like push the wave or like whatever. It's just rough in lane. And in terms of like skirmishes, she's like Sona. She doesn't really do well in early skirmishes because of her long cooldowns and the fact that one her cooldowns aren't like guaranteed to land. Like her cooldowns are actually quite difficult to land. Like all of her skills are skill shots, right? The ease of execution is even harder than Sona. And do you get that much extra value over Sona that it would be better than her? Well, I would say Seraphine's ulti is definitely better than Sona, but I don't know if anything else is. You know, Q is damage, Sona's Q is damage. W heal and shield, Sona's W is heal and shield. But E is a slow, Sona's E is a speed up. Like, you can compare these champions, but in the end, I think Seraphine's not only... I actually think Seraphine's lane might even be weaker than Sona's. Like, Sona can at least, like, punish, like, a Janna, for example. Like, I don't even know if Seraphine could. Like, she scales fine. Like, if you get to 1, 2, 3 items in your elo, then go ahead and play her, and she'll probably be fine. I will say, statistically, she's also doing worse than Sona. So, something you might... I do think Seraphine's a good champion. I don't think she's a good support. I think she's good farming with, like, 80 and mid. You can go, like, Rylai's, and you'll have enough... You'll scale a lot faster, pretty much. But so Seraphine support rarely reaches her item breakpoints fast enough. Not to mention, like, between Moonstone users, I think Sona's actually a better Moonstone user than Seraphine. Seraphine, like, you would have to empower the W every single time, whereas Sona's W will give it to you a good value every time. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about these ones. Okay, we're now opening the floor for questions. Best counter to Senna. Great question. This is a very good question, and I'm glad you asked this. Senna's greatest counters are probably going to be Blitzcrank and Nautilus. These are champions that don't even at level 1 Senna doesn't really feel too safe going aggressive on. However, as Senna's side, you can always do barrier, right? There are counterplay, and this is also a reason why Senna's S+. You know, as S+, you're not supposed to have, like, you should be blind pickable, and all the matchups should still be playable. And I do feel like it's that way, but I do think Nautilus and Blitzcrank would give her problems in terms of, like, making her feel really uncomfy trying to go step up and get souls because she'll feel like she can die. In terms of, like, late game counters, like maybe Bard, it could be problematic for her, and because Bard can, like, flank her team from different angles and, like, ulti her from a long range, even though she has really long range. If you're playing to outrange her, you can think about maybe Xerath is an option. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that she is good against, or she can play against all of those just fine. That's a good question though. How does Sona punish Janna? So Janna's damage is really low, so Sona can get free stacks off her, like both her passive stacks and her spell thief stacks. And then any damage that Janna will return to Sona in a trade, Sona will just heal up. Nami ruins a belt. So if you're playing with Lucian, you can do electrocute. That page will look something like... Here, I'll just show it real quick. That page will look like this. This. I like Treasure Hunter. I want to explain Treasure Hunter with Lucian Nami. Lucian Nami will, like, most certainly get kills at, like, some point in the game, and the Treasure Hunter will get you that mandate super fast so that you're just always super ahead of the curve, and then the enemy team can never catch up. I think Treasure Hunter is really good on Nami if you're going to go electrocute. And then in this tree, if it's a tough matchup, if it's tough, like Nautilus or something where you think any small difference will matter for living or dying and winning the trade, then you would go this. Biscuits and Time Warp Tonic. If it's an easy matchup, like you're going to win no matter what, you can do Magical Footwear or you can do Cosmic Insight. It's preference. Yeah, okay. And if you're not playing Lucian Nami, then your runes are going to look something like this. This, if you're not planning on roaming, and like, again, this is it's a tough matchup. That's going to be a lot of fighting. Like, any of these is fine. For Scorch versus Gathering Storm, if you don't think you can punish them in lane, right? Because Nami's a strong lane bully, but if you have like Nami and a weak laner, and you're against like something that just wants to farm, and you know it's just going to be a farming matchup, then you go Gathering Storm. Nami has fine AP ratios. Where would you rank Vel'Koz? Vel'Koz would go C probably. I always value good laners. You can win the game off a good laning phase, and Vel'Koz is a strong laner. And at the very least, he can get prio, right? QW, wave's gone. Or WE. What about Swain? Where would I put Swain? Swain, I actually don't like Swain support. I think this is a champ that needs items. And he doesn't really provide much in terms of laning phase. I actually think Swain support was better when he could pull off other people's CC. Now that he's like his own CC, like, you miss your E, and what are you going to do in lane? Both of you and the ADC, if you miss E, it's just like doomed. And if you land it, you maybe do like a little tickle, like 30% of their HP. And then they'll just trade like your whole HP bar against you. If they, for some reason, let you get to level 6 for free, then yeah, maybe you're chilling, but I'm going to put him at D. I played it once or twice, didn't touch it again. And the thing is, I don't think Swain's a bad champ. I actually think Swain's a good champ. It's kind of like Seraphine. He's better with items, with CS, with levels. He's not good support. Yeah. Is Poppy good in support? Poppy, we play Poppy against Yuumi and stuff. Poppy would actually, I would actually rate her decently. She would probably go here and see. Because she's good at roaming. Her W buff is pretty nice. Before, if you use W to run out of base, when you get to lane, it's actually still on cooldown. It was 28, I believe, before. Now it's like low enough to where if you were to W out of base, you can use W again. And what I will say about Poppy is she has a lot of play styles. You can play her Aftershock. And if you play her Aftershock, you can like E in lane and then like Q. They don't even have to hit the wall. And they can use W to cut their dash, and that's actually a good trade. There's another style you can play Electrocute where you go Umbral Glaive and you go like High Burst. You can go Predator and like roam a lot. Like, she has different ways to play. And people like to bring up, well, Poppy early game is obviously very good. She's really good at skirmishing, especially if you get flash. You have flash up and you can flash them into the wall. What I will say is Poppy, main concern is scaling. But if you're creative on her, you can avoid that, right? If you're creative on Poppy, you can use the ulti to like push out their scalers and then you guys take the objective. Or you can play vision better and like make picks. Like, Poppy has ways around her scaling issues for support. Runes for Senna support. Okay, so this is actually important. I see a lot of people taking fleet footwork on Senna. And I just see a lot of people's build airs on Senna. So I just want to point out, Airy is probably her best rune. Or having played Senna like hundreds of games, I have like almost 100% win rate on Senna last patch. In this patch, 100% win rate. Like, this is my champion. Ares just feels really good because it procs on your Q, it procs on your E, it procs on your ulti. Like, I've seen fights where I save the top lane because my Ares shield will like hit him. And he'll like win the 1v1 like that. Or like my Ares saves my AD carry. And it's good in trades too. Like, you can use Ares aggressive and defensive at the same time. And just mana flow, like, it's so nice. Just pressing Q on them, Q auto, getting a soul, getting mana flow, getting Scorch off. It's really nice. And here, conditioning, most of the time I'll take conditioning because just Senna's issue is getting one shot like in the later stage of the game. And if you're like even slightly tankier, and this is probably even better now that you have more armor and MR later in the game, getting an increase in your armor and MR is actually a big deal. I think this rune actually might have gone nerfed. I don't remember. And if in a soft matchup, you take bone plating. In very, very few situations, I'll go like just, if I think I'm absolutely not threatened at all, I might even just do boots and biscuits. This is rare though. I almost 100% of the games, or yeah, almost all the games I'll do this setup. In terms of like fleet, I think fleet is worse. I don't think it's bad though. I just don't think it does as much as Airy. And then Guardian, just no. And in terms of builds, just no to Moonstone, no to Locket. Don't do whatever Shirelia's. I've seen some really whack Senna builds. If you are, I would say in most games, Umbral Glaive Rush is just going to be really good. She can clear wards like really fast and from a really safe range. And just Umbral Glaive is really OP right now. Like, it's cheap, good stats, and you can get it early, and it pays itself back with each ward you clear. And you just clear wards faster. You don't have to waste your time clearing clearing the wards. This item's just really good, and any champ that can build it should probably build it. In terms of like Eclipse versus Kraken Slayer, Eclipse is better most of the time unless they are all armor stacking. Then your Eclipse isn't going to do that much damage. You should go Kraken Slayer. And then for third item, it's usually situational. If you're just like hard shitting on them, then I'd like to go an RFC, like a third damage item. But if I'm thinking, I need a defensive item, then Edge of Night is fine too. GA, totally fine. I do not go Zombie Ward on Senna. I don't think it's necessary, and I just think this tree is just better for her. Okay, does Poppy need Hex Flash? Yeah, I go Hex Flash on her every game. All right. All right. Other questions? Don't think Morgana deserves D. So the reason why Morgana is D is because not only is her laning phase really terrible, she doesn't even do her one job. What was Morgana's one job? Cucking the engagers, right? Her spell shield cooldown is double most engaged spells cooldown. So even if you successfully deny a trade, right? Like, let's say you spell shield Nautilus hook and you return a QW. Nautilus is unfazed by the QW, first of all, and Morgana does not do that much damage right now. So he'll take the QW and maybe lose like 20 or 30% of his HP. And then he'll just come back at you in 12 seconds and you can't play. Your E will be on cooldown. Your other spell W is like not even a support spell, right? And then Q, like, sure, you can Q, but like that's not going to stop Nas from all-inning you. And you're squishy, and like your ulti requires you to be in the middle of them. But if you don't have Zhonya's, then what? Like, and on top of that, like, she doesn't even have a good mythic. So like, what is she even there for? She'll lose really hard in certain matchups. Like, she'll lose Senna really hard, she'll lose Karma really hard, and the one she's supposed to win, like Rakan, Leona, Nautilus, not only does she like sometimes not win it, you have the chance of not winning it. On top of that, they can out roam you. So like, it's just that bad. I don't even remember the last time I saw Morgana in my game. Anivia is a very skill reliant champion. If you're good at Anivia, she could place as high as A. If you're just a normal Anivia, she'd be like C. And if you're somewhere in between, like B, I probably won't place it. I'll place her. Fuck it. Cut down Precision Senna. Precision Senna is okay. It's not bad. Like I said, I don't think this is like a game-breaking decision. The secondary tree on Senna. Like, if you want to choose this, and then you feel good about it, then do it. Why not? Oh, actually, people do attack speed shard. I don't like attack speed shard because I feel like Senna has a lot of really good flat AD ratios. And I feel like my trade pattern isn't like auto, Q auto, you know. It's just Q auto, take the soul, take the 60 free golden stats, and then come back in a couple seconds and Q auto them again, you know. I don't think I'm here to trade for a long time. I'm here to do some quick burst trades and take the souls and peace out, you know? Okay. When do I pick Galio? You pick Galio against if their team has a lot of divers, or if your team has a lot of divers. So Galio is really good with like a Jarvan jungle, for example. He dives forward, you follow up with the ulti, it's really good. If they have a lot of divers, like they pick, let's say, I don't know, Nas, and he hooks into your team, and you want, then you respawn with your ulti, and then anyone who wants to follow up to Nautilus is worried that they're going to get ulted, right? Gao is also really good against low range. If they go for it, then he can get really juicy taunts. But he has a hard time getting taunts if they are... if you have to like dive forward, because you need flash for that. Honestly, in most situations where I'd pick Galio, I think Renata's better, but Galio is also really fun. He has a global too. Renata's Vex here. There's no Vex on this list, or there's no Renata on this champion list. Yeah, Zilean's the second best, or he's the best scaler. He actually scales better than Senna, but his early game is weak enough to where I don't think he can get S+. Because he's the best scaler, and this patch did help people who scale well. He gets S, yeah. The stats back it up too. In NA, he has a 53% win rate. Korea, 52. When do you pick Rakan? Rakan, he's actually blindable. He's blindable, but like in the matchups he doesn't win, he makes up for it like by having good fights at level 6 or by having really good roams. His laning phase is like you can play aggressive against like a Braum, or if you want to play defensive, then you just use Q to heal up and like use your E to shield and like respond to trades versus like if I'm against Nautilus, like I'm not going to W forward. I'm going to like wait for him to go forward, and then I'll double shield my AD, like I'll shield my AD carry, knock up their AD carry, shield my AD carry again, and then we'll come out like trade neutral. He can't be proactive against in those matchups, but later in the game, his team fighting and just like playmaking potential is good enough to where he would be A regardless of his weak lane. Yeah. Is Zilean 2 or 3 points into Q into Emax? Honestly, if you're somehow winning lane, like I would just send the full 5Q. But most of the time it'll look like 3Q, 5E, and then you'll like do like 2W and then like 5Q and then next W last. Best runes for Renata, Lucky, or Aurelius. Lucky or Aurelius depends on the game. In terms of runes, usually you go... The green tree is really good on her, so most times you would go the green tree. Well, if that's all the questions, that was the tier list for this patch. And I hope everyone enjoys and likes and comments and subscribes on the videos. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.